adventure begins now!
Let's go.
And with that being said, let's make a custom Mario Kart. Here I have a quick sketch of my idea on the left and some inspiration on the right to get us started. Let's get things started off with some crafting supplies. First and foremost, we're going to need some poster board, a couple of toy cars from the dollar store, one regular, one RC, a toy military turret also from the dollar store, this one's Final Faction brand. Let's rip open this cute little guy and see what he's made of. He might appear to be harmless, but he's still got a little bit of old programming still left in him from the war. But after spending some time playing with him and earning his trust, he's easier to dismantle. Next up, we got a regular toy car, and we're just going to pull him apart like so. Alright, awesome. Yeah, fuck that. And we're just going to pop off each one of these tires. Pretty simple like that. Alright, and here I am removing the battery compartment and sliding in some AA batteries into the RC car, checking to see if it works, and I guess it does, I wouldn't know. But then I go unscrewing the entire foundation of the car from the sleek body exterior to check out everything on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and rip out the LED headlights to detach said foundation from the body of the car officially. So I got my pliers here, ripping out that last one, and boom, look at that. We got it done. Now we are separated completely. For this next part, if you're going to be using a Dremel against a hard piece of plastic like this, it's always important to make sure you're wearing your safety goggles. If not, you're going to have hot chunks of plastic being shot into your eye, and that's no fun. With that being said, let's get back to the build. So with the cutoff wheel attachment, I'm going to remove the roof of the toy car alongside with drilling out the space in these headlights for the LED attachments later on the build. So busting out the Dremel case here alongside with the rotary tool. Going to open up the case here for the diamond tip that we are going to be drilling out the headlights with. Oh yeah, just look at that grind. As I get deep in there, you already know what's about to happen. We move into the next part where I start attaching the LEDs into the slots of the headlights. Now, granted, there's only 2 LED, so the other 2 headlight frames just will be empty. However, that's no problem because, A, look at that, they work. Back at it again with the cutoff wheel attachment. I'm removing this piece to make room for an external engine block. Then I'm going to use a file to sand down some of those harsh edges a bit. Here's not my first, but second attempt at a template for an engine block. And with a pair of scissors, I cut it out, removing all the excess cardboard before folding it into shape, placing it nice and snug into the hole that we previously cut out before. And just like that, it's looking pretty damn good. Here I am hot gluing down some previously cut bits from the regular toy car onto the front of the engine block. Moving on to this piece that I found in my drawer randomly. I believe it will make a good frame for the engine block to give it some character and some depth, along with hot gluing down the pieces from the side of the remote control car that was in front of the LED headlights. So here I'm going to cut off the back end of the remote control car along that line there using my cutoff wheel attachment from earlier. So finally having both pieces fully separated like so, you can take the back end of the car and put it onto its base along with the front end of the toy car to kind of visualize how our kart's going to end up looking like. Going along the Sharpie line I drew there, I'm going to cut the front end of the RC car off to create a spoiler for our Mario Kart to really give it the flair it deserves overall. Oh, that's so satisfying. Alright, awesome. Now that we have the spoiler cut off from the front end of the remote control car, I'm taking my sanding drum to shape the spoiler and to sand down some of those harsh edges. With that, I think we're looking pretty good. However, I'm going to sand down those pegs on the spoiler so it can lay a little bit more flat on the back end. And if you're anything like me, you're going to want to add a little bit more pizzazz to our spoiler, so I'm super gluing down these studs to mimic a bolt or rivet like item to add onto its overall detail. Alright, and with our Mario Kart approved oversized tires here, we're going to have to shave down the fenders on the back end of the RC car with our sanding drum. So when everything is all said and done, everything can fit correctly and our tires can spin freely. However, let's take a little step away from the kart and move on to our next process. So now that I'm all bricked up like this clay, I'm going to remove it from its packaging and start sculpting our little Italian plumber and go-kart extraordinaire. First, by breaking off a piece and kneading the clay, I'm going to shape it into a ball, and this will be the first beginning shape for Mario's head. Here I am using the end of a paintbrush to poke out some eye holes for Mario, and a nose hole as well. And after breaking off another piece of clay, I molded it into the shape of an eyeball that I'm shoving into his little eye socket here. Later on we'll paint this, but I think it looks pretty good. Along with his huge old honker going in that hole right there. And his little upper lip caterpillar that I'm cutting into to start shaping the curls. With the makeup brush, I make a little indentation for under his nose.
Nice.
Here I've sculpted some little itty bitty eyebrows to give him some expression while he's driving down the track and being chased by a blue shell, which no one's happy about. Sticking on his other ear, and adding another glob of clay for his beautiful, luscious hair. And with that, I'd say we have a pretty good looking Italian short king. However, you couldn't be sure that this is Mario until we add on that white medallion and his signature M for Mario. First and last name. Alrighty, and with another chunk of clay, I've shaped it into another ball for his pudgy little body, and smushing down a little place for his neck hole where I took the knife to cut it out and make it a little bit bigger for his oversized head. With my finger and thumb, I'm going to pat that down so everything's all nice and smooth. And checking the fit here, and it's looking pretty good. However, we're going to move on to his hands, which I made these pretty nice looking gloves. Popping him into an air fryer because I sadly don't own an oven for about 15 minutes at 250 degrees. We're going to move on to the blue shell here, which I didn't really know how many spikes it had on the back, but this Google image helped me out with that. 7, if you were wondering. Here I got a little piece of clay that I have shaped into the shape of a turtle shell, and with a little clay snake, I'm going to wrap it around the exterior of the shell to give it that outer ring, I suppose. Not really sure what you would call that on a turtle shell. And finally, with this last bit of the feather, I'm going to attach that onto the wings. Now this was a little bit annoying to make, a lot of stacking, After stacking on that last feather, I went in with a screwdriver and started making the hexagons on the back of the turtle shell, along with the line work on the bottom half. And finally poking in some dimples with the back end of a paintbrush for the spikes later. With that, we're done with the sculpting, and let's move on to No. Using a can of black spray paint, I'm setting a primer coat of it onto every little plastic piece of the car, along with some of these straws, which will be important later. Like and subscribe for more crafting ASMR content down below. Yeah, dip it back in. Whoa! Whoa, you're fucking up the paint, bro. And finally giving our little turret piece a coat of primer as well. Starting off here with Mario, I'm going to give him a basic coat of red on his arms and hat, along with that big ol' M on his forehead. Following up with the red, I'm using a pretty dark basic blue for his overalls to kind of complete that blue jean coloring that overalls tend to have, especially the ones Mario wears. So, doubling down on the dark blue, I'm using it to paint the tippy top of the blue shell to give it a dark color, and I'll go back in with a lighter blue highlight afterwards with some dry brushing, but I don't think I filmed that part, so here you go. Here's a few more seconds of me painting this blue shell, so enjoy. All of this painting is going to take multiple coats, by the way, so just take your time with it. Enjoy the process. Now, to get this specific tan that I'm using here, I mixed a little bit of yellow ochre and some white together to get that underbelly all painted up. Gonna fill in the holes of the Koopa shell, so then there's no gaps in the painting or on the shell itself. Now, while waiting for all those coats to dry, I decided to play a little Mario Kart in my spare time. Now, even after a like that, you already know your boy came in first. There ain't no questioning about it.
Ah! No, not me! No, you rock, and you know that!
Now, back to painting. I took that tan mix that we made earlier, mixing together the yellow ochre and the white to make this Italian pizza dough skin color for Mario, which really turned out great, honestly. Now, unlike the rest of Mario's brown hair, his mustache is actually black. But let's move on to the actual fun stuff. Now, mixing together some metallic gunmetal gray and some red, I was able to kind of get this nice little car, shiny red for the rest of the car. I don't know what I'm saying here. Painting it on the back end of the car as well. Just wanted to really give that red overall. I know that Mario's kart in the game is blue, however, I really like the red finish that I bought the cars in. With a little bit of dry brushing, some of that gunmetal gray, I was able to get the rims of the tires to look a little bit more realistic and have that sort of feel that they're metal, you know? Along with the engine block. Obviously, I wanted the external engine block to be silver so that it looks like metal. However, I really like this detail just because it really breaks apart the hood of the car against the red. Using a metallic Sharpie silver to give the front tires that rim job, after of course you take them out to dinner first. After using that previous technique where I mixed gunmetal gray and red, I did the same thing here with some blue to give the spoiler that very nice, sexy finish. Going back in with that silver Sharpie, I touched up the edges and the perimeter of the headlights alongside the grille and the bumper of the car to really separate and give them that accent color. To apply some finishing touches here on Mario, I went in on his eyes with a baby blue or sky blue, I don't really remember, and I'm too lazy to walk across my room to go see, but painted the irises that blue, glued in the spikes, and super glued in on both sides the wings. Now, I already know that the clay that I bought was white already, but I went in on his gloves with another white coat just to really finish it off. And here I am super gluing them to his arms, which didn't really work, so I ended up using hot glue. Here I am going in with a Mario mustache black for his pupils. And I'm not gonna lie with y'all, this was actually really hard to do because I had to work around his big old nose, but we made it work anyway. Now the last thing we need to do in order to make this a Nintendo approved Mario is to give him that little white eye glisten thingy that's very popular over in Japan and like in anime. But honestly, really glad I did this. It really brought him all together. Heading back over to the cart, I am getting some hot glue ready to put on the bottom of Mario so I can stick him back into his driver's seat and he can prepare to start racing here in a little bit. Using some gold glitter hot glue, I'm pulling them into the headlights to fill them out and to give them like a lit up appearance. Using the same hot glue, I'm sticking our oversized tires onto the back wheels. And of course on this side too. Going back on some gunmetal gray, I'm dry brushing it onto the back end of the turret to make it our little turbo booster for the Mario Kart.
Wow! Look at that shine! Boom. You looking for this?
Told you it would be important. With that being said, I'm hot gluing them down onto the sides here to create some exhaust pipes for the kart. But now it's all finished. Let's get this baby out into the track and see if it works. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but it does end up working better whenever you turn it on. Yeah, I'd say it's working really well actually, but let's move on to those glamour shots.
This one is from my one and only true love, Princess Peach. Peach, you're so cool. And with my star we're gonna rule. Peach, understand, I'm gonna love you till the very end. Peaches, 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 peaches. Oh, yeah, yeah. Peaches, 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 peaches. I love you. Oh, Mario, Luigi, and a Donkey Kong too. 1,000 troops of Koopas couldn't keep me from you. Princess Peach at the end of the line.
Hey guys, thank you all for watching, and please comment down below what you would like to see next.